growing up, there were 5 quarterbacks who inspired me. And growing up, I mean, as late as high school, I mean, there were 5 quarterbacks that I've always looked up to and always really respected and admired. And I want to talk about them. I'm going to kind of rant. Rant's not the right word, but I'm going to just share my heart because I've been really thinking about quarterbacks a lot this week. And Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and in fact, Baker Mayfield have just incredibly inspired me throughout my entire life. And I want to talk about that because it matters to me. This is a really personal thing that I've loved. And the first one for me is Drew Brees. Drew Brees, the Saints quarterback. He's always been a short quarterback, and I was a short quarterback. I'm 5'11", maybe on my best day. And I remember I met with Trent Dilfer once, actually. I played on the same field as Trent Dilfer, and he said, "Look, man, you're just not what we're looking for." It was an Elite 11 tryout, and he said, "You're just too small. You're not what we're looking for." I moved in high school because my coach said I was too small to play for him. I moved to another school, and I dominated there. I set a bunch of records, and I still wasn't recruited at all. It was painful, and I remember when Drew Brees was a member of the Chargers, and it just seemed like the Chargers didn't want him. He hurt his shoulder. They had Phillip Rivers. They drafted Phillip Rivers for whatever reason. And I just think it's so cool that Drew Brees continued to believe in himself, and he overcame that fact that people did not believe in him. And Drew Brees, you forget, he was a second-round pick. Maybe the greatest quarterback. He's arguably, I don't think he is, but Drew Brees is arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Was not a first-round pick. Was not highly believed in. And I just think that's so cool. And another thing I want to say, man, I've really studied Drew Brees' mechanics. The way he throws a football, when you're growing up, they used to tell you got to separate. It's really important to separate the ball. And Drew Brees does that to a T. He's got incredibly good mechanics. I've always been really highly inspired by that. I love Drew Brees. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. And always a guy I looked up to. Read his book growing up. It's fantastic. The next quarterback that always really inspired me was Tom Brady. Talk about a guy nobody believed in. I mean, and I've been there. Look, I remember when I first started making videos, all my friends, a lot of people I knew, my ex-girlfriend even was like, "You're a loser. What are you doing with your time?" And I really thought I could make it. I believed in myself. And now look where I am. I think I make an amazing product I'm really proud of. And I've done a lot of cool shoots. I worked in LA, worked for Pac-12 Network, a lot of stuff. And so when people didn't believe in Tom Brady, that resonates with me tremendously. But here's what's the most cool about Tom Brady. He's not a great athlete. In fact, he's a really less than average. He's a mediocre to bad athlete. He's got average arm strength, and nobody wanted him. And despite that, because of Tom Brady's sheer will, his work ethic, he's just more dedicated than anybody else in the NFL. Tom Brady's made himself probably the greatest quarterback of all time and done far more than anybody could have believed because of his will, his sheer will and his work ethic, his dedication to his craft. I mean, other people had way more advantages than Drew Brees. In fact, you could even compare Drew Brees to Drew Bledsoe, the guy he beat out. Drew Bledsoe dominated at Washington State. I think he was a number 1 overall pick. This is a guy that everyone wanted to succeed. Nobody believed in Tom Brady. No one wanted Tom Brady to succeed. And despite that, he made it happen. I think that's so cool. Another thing I love about Tom Brady, every single offseason he improves. If you watch the way he throws his first year in the NFL to now, he's got a different throwing motion, different style, better footwork. Everything has changed about Tom Brady, and it's so cool to watch how he's developed his game. No matter what field you're in, whether you're a salesman, you're a podcaster like me, no matter who you are, what you do, that dedication to always getting better, to never settling with the way you are, and always tweaking what you do is so cool. I mean, think about it. If you're a salesman, you always want to be adapting your techniques. How can I get better at this? How can I improve? I know a guy that listens to this show. He's a custodian at a college. Even that, you can find a way to improve what you do, make it more efficient, make it better, save better time. There's always ways you can improve your life and do better. And so watching Tom Brady consistently tweak his game, never settle for the way he is now and always trying to get better, just tremendously improves me. And there's one more aspect to Tom Brady that I think is so cool. It's a story that this storyline I read today is why I was actually inspired to make this topic. Josh Gordon apparently is really benefiting from Tom Brady. Tom Brady's taking him under his wing, trying to help the guy learn about life and get better as a football player. That is so cool. I just think that's another aspect that we can learn from Tom Brady is Tom Brady elevates his teammates. He's a great guy. He cares about football, and he cares about people, and I just think that is an underrated quality. Quarterbacks are not just the guy who throws a football. They're a leader on the field. They're a leader off the field. And Tom Brady, I can't think of a guy who is a better leader by example, leader with what he does. And he's not afraid to speak up and say his mind when it's time. And I think that is so incredibly important. And we're going to watch, I think Josh Gordon, his career is going to be revitalized with Tom Brady. And a lot of that is because of Tom Brady's leadership on and off the field. Another quarterback that tremendously has inspired me growing up, Aaron Rodgers. It's funny to me, Aaron Rodgers is probably the most talented quarterback of all time. And despite that Aaron Rodgers throws a ball literally better than anybody, he did not have a scholarship out of high school. Graduates high school, doesn't have a scholarship, had to go to Butte College in Chico, California. And I'm just saying, I know this stuff. I'm weird. I'm a nerd. I grew up loving Tom Brady, loving Aaron Rodgers, loving Drew Brees. I know a story about Aaron Rodgers. When Jeff Tedford, the coach at Cal, recruited Aaron Rodgers out of Butte College, he was not even looking for Aaron Rodgers. Jeff Tedford, the Cal coach, was recruiting some wide receiver, and he saw Aaron Rodgers throw a slant for a touchdown and went, "Who is that guy? That guy throws the ball differently." That's so cool to me. Aaron Rodgers got noticed. And the fact that if Aaron Rodgers can go unnoticed for years and not get a scholarship out of high school, what does that say? A, I think college recruiting somewhat flawed. But B, don't give up. Keep fighting for what you have. You know, I even today I use this. I got a ticket a couple weeks ago. And what you have to do at my college is you have to turn in a ticket within 10 days to appeal the process. I think I got a really unfair parking ticket. I tried to appeal it. And they're like, well, it's past 10 days. There's nothing you can do. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't agree with that. You know, I think I was unfairly given a ticket. So I went back the next day. I talked to a different employee. A different lady was at the desk. She said, no, you know, it's not going to work out. Do it online. You got to pay the ticket. And I said, I'm still not going to take no for an answer. I went back 7 times. And every time I went back, I talked to a different person. They kind of shuffled me around. And eventually they're like, fine, you can have a late approval or late appeal. You can appeal your ticket. I might still have to pay that ticket, but I fought for everything. I did not take no for an answer. And when I struggled, when things didn't go my way, I said, no, I'm going to do what I think the quarterbacks I've always believed in my whole life, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, what would they do? And so I really am incredibly impressed by guys like Aaron Rodgers who were told no and didn't give up on their career, didn't give up on their dream. Another thing that is so cool about Aaron Rodgers, and that's incredibly important to his story, Aaron Rodgers was drafted by the Green Bay Packers, who had Brett Favre. Brett Favre is arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He's not the GOAT, not close, but he is incredible. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers has probably surpassed him is unbelievable. You know, my favorite radio broadcaster is Colin Cowherd. I think he's fantastic. He's the Michael Jordan of broadcasting. If Colin Cowherd retired and they said, Zach, you're going to take over the herd, man, I don't know. How do you improve? How do you do better than Colin Cowherd? That's what Aaron Rodgers did. He took over for one of the best ever and said, no, I'm gonna one up him. You know how hard that is, how inspiring and cool that is to me? Like, I just think that's awesome. How many people are like, yeah, I can do better than that guy, a guy who's a Hall of Famer? That's so cool and impressive to me. My fourth quarterback that's always inspired me is Russell Wilson. I remember in high school, my coach actually called me Russell Wilson because I transferred in high school. I had a coach who said, you're too small, it's not going to work out. And I moved. My family moved. We lost our house anyways. We moved to a mobile home in Vancouver, Washington, so I could play for a different high school. I set records there, made the playoffs twice. It was incredibly vindicating for me. It's like, you're wrong. And it meant a lot to me to watch Russell Wilson when I was in high school. He played for North Carolina State. And he played baseball. He played 2 sports, and I think he played a amateur baseball. He did something with baseball, and NC State said, we don't want you back as our quarterback. In fact, I think they committed to Mike Glennon at the time. And so Russell Wilson was a graduated student. He was a graduate transfer, went to Wisconsin. He's one of the first graduate transfers, I think, ever. And within 2 weeks on location in Wisconsin, Russell Wilson became a captain at Wisconsin. It's so cool. He not only became a captain with his leadership, with who he is, he made it work. He got Wisconsin to the Rose Bowl. They did lose to Oregon, but man, I've always loved Russell Wilson. There's another thing to Russell Wilson that I like. Russell Wilson is annoyingly positive. And I have hated that for a long time about Russell Wilson. It felt fake to me. I didn't like it. And recently in my personal life, I've realized, life often sucks. Life is so annoying and it's frustrating, and you always hit roadblocks and obstacles, and you have to be positive no matter who you are. And so my perspective on Russell Wilson's positivity, even if it's fake at times, mine is fake sometimes. I'm having to tell myself, you got to be positive. And so I actually have shifted from hating Russell Wilson's positivity to respecting it and admiring it. I find it really cool. Now, the final quarterback for me is Baker Mayfield. People think often I don't like Baker Mayfield. I said I would rather have Sam Darnold, but don't get me wrong. I have loved Baker Mayfield my entire life. Not my entire life, as long as I've known about Baker Mayfield. For me growing up, I always wanted to go to Texas Tech. I remember watching Mike Leach as a kid. I was like, that offense is unbelievable. I want to play there. I think it's so cool. And he actually did what I wanted to do. Baker Mayfield lived my dream. He walked on. He made it happen. He had no scholarships out of high school and said, regardless, I'm going to go out and make it happen. And he did. You know, for me, when I didn't get a scholarship offer out of high school, I gave up on my dreams. You know, Trent Dilfer said, you're not good enough for Elite 11. That really discouraged me. And I said, well, you know, it's not working out for me. And I went to a Division III school and was like, that's what I want. I eventually left. And my brother died, and it was a mess. So when I saw Baker Mayfield walk on and dominated Texas Tech, and then leave and walk on to Oklahoma, I just saw that. I saw that and was like, man, that is incredibly inspiring. But not only is Baker Mayfield's story really inspiring, it's also the way he carries himself. He doesn't care what people think, and not in a bad way, because you can do that. There's two ways to do that. I could make a really terrible podcast and say, I don't care what anybody thinks. I can make complete crap. I can make complete crap. I don't really care what anybody thinks. Or I could make something I'm really proud of that even if people don't like, I say, I'm proud of this. I believe in myself. I don't care what you think if you don't like me. That's Baker Mayfield. He does not care if you don't believe in him. He does not care if you think he's undraftable, too small, not a good enough arm. Doesn't care. He believes in himself, has his inner confidence. And I just think that's so cool. You got to recognize that about Baker Mayfield. It is his coolest feature that he does not care what anybody thinks. I love that. So, man, you look at this group of quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and Baker Mayfield. They have struggled tremendously. And I think struggling is really, really important. It's good for you in life. Struggling is not a bad thing. If you're struggling out there, your girlfriend breaks up with you, you lose your job, these are all teachable moments you can learn from it. And guys like these 5 quarterbacks learn from their rejections, learn from their bad moments, times life didn't go their way. I can imagine Tom Brady's picked in the 6th round. You think he's like, this is awesome, I love this. No, but he didn't let it discourage him and stop him. And so I just think that's so incredibly cool. These guys, these 5 quarterbacks have been incredibly hungry. They never settled. They kept going. And I just find that incredibly inspiring. We can all learn from these 5 quarterbacks and try to follow suit. No matter what field you're in, sales, podcasting, you actually are a football player, doesn't matter what you do with your life, you can learn from these 5 quarterbacks and try to emulate the way they are successful. I find it incredibly inspiring. And that was on my heart today. I wanted to share that because every week I do, this news story and that news story, I share my opinion. And this is one that's been on my heart tremendously. And so I want to talk about it. These 5 quarterbacks have always inspired me my whole life. And I wanted to share that. Hi, my name is Zach Schaumler. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. It means a ton to me. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. And if you're new to Strong Opinion Sports, you can subscribe to Strong Opinion Sports on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube, as well as shorter little breakout clips like the one you just watched. And if you really want to help me, please tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Help me grow by telling your friends about this show. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. Help me grow by telling your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. My name is Zach Schaumler. Thank you so much, and have a great day.